Throughout the history of humanity, mankind has been witness to thousands of strange, unexplained mysteries and events, as well as mysterious phenomena. Many of them can undoubtedly be explained as regular, everyday events that were simply misunderstood. But however, there remain a large number that defy any explanation. Join us as we take a look at 5 mysterious events you wouldn't believe if they weren't recorded. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. The Vela Incident. A US Vela satellite captured what is now known as the Vela Incident, also known as the South Atlantic Flash, on September 22, 1979. The incident itself was a double flash of light that beamed off Antarctica near the Prince Edward Islands. To date, there is no official account of what caused the double flash, leading to several hypotheses being advanced on the probable cause. Some sources claim that the incident was characteristic of a nuclear test, while others believe that the flash was a result of an aging satellite generating electrical signals. Other sources also claim that the lights were as a result of a meteor hitting the Vela satellite. Although investigations remained classified, investigators ruled out an explosion. American Vela satellite 6911 detected the incident while on its routine check on nuclear test explosions that breached the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. This satellite also had the capacity to detect X-rays, neutrons, and gamma rays. On this day, the satellite reported a possible nuclear explosion somewhere between the Crozet Islands and the Prince Edward Islands in South Africa territory in the middle of the Indian Ocean. However, additional scanning using US and NATO equipment of the area did not give a sufficient conclusion. Furthermore, studies of wind patterns suggest an activity like an explosion. Initial assessment pointed to a low-yield nuclear explosion, but the United States Air Force later released a statement clarifying that the event was not a nuclear explosion, but may have been a bomb blast or some other natural phenomena, including a combination of lightning and a meteor. Much later, the United States National Security Council, or the NSC, revised this position as inconclusive and directed South Africa to shed more light on what had transpired near its overseas territory. Several nations became suspects for being responsible for the double flash, including Israel, South Africa, USSR, India, Pakistan, and France. To date, no one knows what the double flash of light was or what caused it that the satellites had picked up. Number 4. The Shag Harbor UFO. An extraordinary event in 1967 would put the small fishing village of Shag Harbor on the map. Located at the southern tip of Nova Scotia, this rural community would play host to one of the most well-documented UFO events in the modern era. Named after the shag, a bird of the cormorant family, the harbor was left off of maps most of the time, but that would be changed once and for all on one clear October night. The tiny fishing community has always had its stories, stories of giant sea serpents, man-eating squid, and ghost ships. The list of local color would see one more addition to its list, a story of a visit from a mysterious flying craft of unknown origin. This craft would visit the skies and waters of Shag Harbor, permanently stamping the village's name in the public eye. The first indication of this mysterious occurrence would come from local residents who noticed some strange orange lights in the sky on the night of October 4th, 1967. Most witnesses agreed that there were 4 orange lights that evening. 5 teenagers watched these lights flash in sequence and then suddenly dive in a 45-degree angle towards the water's surface. The witnesses were surprised that the lights didn't dive into the water, but seemed to float on the water, approximately 1/2 mile from the shore. Witnesses at first thought they were watching a tragic airplane crash, and they quickly reported as much to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which was located at Barrington Passage. Coincidentally, RCMP Constable Ron Pound had already witnessed the strange lights himself as he drove down Highway 3 en route to Shag Harbor. Mr. Pound felt that he was seeing all 4 lights all attached to one flying craft. He estimated the craft to be about 60 feet long. The following day, the Rescue Coordination Center filed a report with Canadian Forces Headquarters in Ottawa. This report stated that something had hit the water in Shag Harbor and the object was of, quote, unknown origin. Divers from HMCS Granby were deployed to the location of the crash, where they searched the bottom of the ocean for several days, but without positive results. Soon, the story of the mysterious crash at Shag Harbor died as quickly as it had begun. Maybe something still lies at the bottom of that harbor. Number 3. The Tasmanian Globster. What is a globster? Globsters formerly were a staple of cryptozoological wonders. Large masses of unknown origin would be found beached in exotic locations around the world. Local wags would scratch their heads and big city experts would state their confusion to the media. Articles written and book comments would repeat the stories over and over again that the globsters were perhaps sea serpents or other unknown marine monsters. If only we could get a sample of such a globster, we were told, perhaps a final determination could be made. The term globster was coined in 1962 by zoologist Ivan T. Sanderson to describe the 1960 carcass, which today is known as the Tasmanian globster. It was a large, unidentified carcass that washed ashore in western Tasmania in August 1960. It measured 20 feet by 18 feet, or about 6 meters by 5.5 meters, and was at least 2 feet tall and estimated to weigh between 5 and 10 tons. The mass lacked eyes and in place of a mouth had soft, tusk-like protuberances with a spine and 6 soft, fleshy arms. The remarkable stiff, white bristles covering its body were always mentioned as adding to the mystery of what this could be. Another such beaching was called the 4-Mile Globster, and described as an unidentified mass washed ashore on 4 Mile Beach in Tasmania in 1997. Expedition members discovered no visible eyes, ears, nor a defined head or a recognizable bone structure. The meat was off-white, fibrous, and surrounded by a thick, hard, and extremely resistant skin. The more the expedition looked, the more they were convinced that it was not a known animal. The researchers took a tissue sample and brought it to Hobart, where they could not agree on the identity of the corpse. Back then, we didn't have the technology we do today to find out the identity of an unknown creature. However, today, findings, DNA sampling, and better tracking of beaches internationally have almost assuredly linked globsters to extremely decomposed whales. One recent find, which looks similar to all the old globsters, was not even mentioned as mysterious. So was this just a mass of a badly decomposed whale that washed ashore, or something else? Number 2. Lake Nyos Disaster. On August 21st, 1986, one of the strangest and most mysterious natural disasters in history took place at Lake Nyos. A lake formed atop a volcanic crater in northwest Cameroon. Without warning, the lake released hundreds of thousands of tons of toxic carbon dioxide. Estimates range from 300,000 to up to 1.6 million. And this silent death cloud spread out over the countryside at nearly 100 kilometers or 62 miles per hour, suffocating an estimated 1,746 people and more than 3,500 livestock within minutes. The effect was as devastating as it was swift, and with the severity of a biblical plague, it felled locals and wildlife alike by starving the air of oxygen within a 25-kilometer or 16-mile radius of the lake. Many people from the villages of Cha, Nyos, and Saboom were silently asphyxiated in their sleep. Some were found with blood around their noses and mouths. When the few remaining survivors woke up, they found no disturbances, no violence. Reporters in the area described it as like looking at the aftermath of a neutron bomb. It's one of the most gut-wrenching natural events in recorded history, and scientists still have no idea what triggered it. At the time, researchers determined that Lake Nyos had released a massive amount of CO2 at around 9 p.m. And because CO2 is heavier than the surrounding air, it quickly sunk into the valleys below, blanketing everything in a sheet of toxic gas 50 meters thick. Usually those hundreds of thousands of tons of CO2 are kept contained in the lake, but this time something blew the lid off. It's not clear what broke the seal and allowed the deep, contaminated water to rise, but it could have been an earthquake, a landslide, or a volcanic eruption, or even something as simple as heavy runs muddying the water levels. The trigger was silent, but the effects were catastrophic. The lake literally exploded in what's known as a limnic eruption, sending a fountain of water over 300 feet or 91 meters into the air and creating a small tsunami. Weirdly enough, a similar event happened nearby just 2 years earlier at Lake Manoon, where a CO2 eruption killed 37 people. No one knows what triggered that eruption either. To prevent these lakes from exploding once more, in 2001, engineers installed pipes in both to suck CO2 from the lake bed and release it very gradually into the air. Number 1. The Oakville Blobs. Oakville, Washington State. A small, quiet, and unassuming place. In 1994, it was rocked by a thunderstorm of almighty power. It was late in summer and the day had been hot and sticky. Come the night, the pitter-patter of raindrops started to fall upon the sky, a most glorious relief. Soon, the sprinkles of water became a deluge. The gutters flowing with rain, the water a blessed comfort, soothing the sweaty skin of the local folks. Soon, those people began to notice something strange. Something falling from the sky that wasn't rain. Something that wasn't like anything any of the townspeople had seen before. Huge, translucent, gelatinous blobs started blanketing the town. Immediately, people started to become ill with symptoms of nausea and dizziness. All the while, all over town, the blobs kept falling. And so did the people. It wasn't long before the residents knew that something most unusual was happening to sleepy old Oakville. Over the next few weeks, these mushy blobs fell 6 more times all over town. Many people fell violently ill, and many possessed other problems besides nausea and dizziness. Difficulty breathing, extreme vertigo, blurred visions, all symptoms many reported after contact with the blobs. Many of the townspeople also fell ill with an illness similar to the flu, which lasted for months and months. Dogs and cats started to die when coming into contact with the blobs. But here's the bizarre thing. After running tests, it was said that the blobs contained human white blood cells. With concern mounting, the State Department discovered that the blobs did contain something resembling white blood cells, but strangely, they had no nuclei, something white blood cells most certainly have. Many in the city blamed the military. They had conducted highly secretive bombing runs just 50 miles away out in the ocean, in the dark depths of night. Perhaps these runs hit a school of jellyfish. Perhaps what was left of the creatures was absorbed into a rain cloud and fell upon Oakville. Scientists say, however, that the number of blobs that fell couldn't have come from 1 or even 2 schools of jellyfish. There are many inconsistencies in this story and much confabulation. No samples of the blobs still exist today, so the question remains, what happened on that August night? Something definitely fell on Oakville. The blobs did exist, but were they an innocent victim of a folly of nature? Was the military involved, either directly or indirectly, or was it something else? Something far stranger than we could possibly imagine. The mystery has gone unsolved, but the Oakville blobs were indeed very much real. Alright, Top 5ers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. Oh, but I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited thefinestpost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you will ever get to read?